You are welcome to HN What's Your Say? The #1 listening show, where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly. Real name Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. So much is a mess when it comes to R. Kelly's New York case, with many of the accusations against him more than questionable. The ones that has stood out the most, however, being the RICO charges, which were only smuggled into the indictment for two main reasons. To allow the prosecutors present any evidence from decades ago for cases that would otherwise not be charged, and to negotiate a much longer sentence for the defendant, considering RICO charges carry a mandatory sentence of 20 years in prison. To ensure that the RICO charges were part of the indictment, they made it the main point on the document, and this saw the entire indictment featuring the word enterprise very numerous times, that they almost used it to refer to R. Kelly himself. The forced inclusion actually made the entire indictment look like the work of a 15-year-old still learning how to write stories. In their attempt to frame R. Kelly, however, when they mentioned in the indictment that the purpose of the enterprise were to promote R. Kelly's music and the R. Kelly brand, they automatically engulfed Sony Records, considering it's the record label that did all these chores for him with reference to the contract he has with the company. It was indeed Sony which planned out how R. Kelly should be branded and his music promoted. They probably planned out all his tours as well. And since the indictment suggests that these Sony roles were the responsibility of the enterprise, the record company gets automatically involved and would be to blame for funding this chain of events. One may be wondering why Sony had no representative in court to enlighten the jury on how all the indictment claims R. Kelly did with his branding and promotions company and with all the agents on Sony's payroll in the alleged enterprise actually unfolded. I am not sure the answer to this will sound strange to any staunch R. Kelly fan or supporter, considering we all know the prime suspect behind this entire legal battle is the record company itself. Unfortunately, though, the attorneys they put to task blundered and put the entire blame on Sony when they described the roles of the alleged enterprise. While Sony may have survived the New York trial court because R. Kelly was short of a competent legal team, their name will definitely feature when the case goes to appeal court. It's very difficult to understand why this was not pointed out by the previous legal team. But the Brooklyn federal court judge too is largely to blame, considering she did not consider a retrial when Bonjean enlightened her with all these facts. If anyone was to answer to the RICO charges, it should have been Sony Records and not Robert. It was clear R. Kelly did not get sufficient and effective legal counsel, otherwise, this case wouldn't have progressed to the appeal court. If facts, Sony should be the one in court and not R. Kelly when it comes to the RICO charges, and I promise you, they soon will be. They may have thought they were going to destroy R. Kelly and take what belongs to him, but not so easily, and not without a price to pay. By witch hunting R. Kelly, Sony indicted itself in the process. They should pray hard that the RICO charges are eventually dropped, because if they remain, it will be Sony paying R. Kelly's legal bills and defending itself from government. Considering they are the ones who took on the job to promote the R. Kelly brand, and that they are the ones who branded him in the first place and decided the direction of his music, there is no way R. Kelly can be in court and Sony on the sidelines watching him pay on the company's behalf. His branding was all their work and not his. In fact, a deeper look into the case events and facts shows that it's not Robert Sylvester Kelly the man that was placed on trial. It was R. Kelly the brand, which is largely owned and managed by the record company Sony, that was indicted along with Sony based on their definition of an enterprise. It should therefore be Sony paying any form of restitutions to anybody that was reportedly offended by R. Kelly, and Robert should go home. Meanwhile, this reminds us of the bitter truth that Sony is largely behind this what's happening to R. Kelly. Sony even more than likely knew where and when R. Kelly was going to be arrested, and what the charges would eventually be. No wonder they promptly dropped him publicly on the 10th of January 2019, only a few months before he was indicted and arrested. Sony also flew a Cessna carrying a banner that said "Mute R. Kelly," something they claim was done by some women's group, like any ordinary American would invest their hard-earned cash to charter a plane to take down R. Kelly. Who has this kind of money to throw away? Sony will take an artist's money and shut them up with no regard of their contributions to the company's net worth. More like a greedy lion that eats everything, leaving nothing for its lionesses who do all the hunting. And if the lioness complains, it simply steps on them and roars to scare them off. How mean. Well, Sony this time round blundered. The indictment places the corporation at the center of the entire RICO accusation, as the major player in the alleged enterprise that was introduced with malicious intent. What we know is that Robert as a person acted alone, but if anyone must answer to any RICO charges, with reference to the indictment, it has to be Sony Records. According to Zabar Jemid, I still don't understand why Sony cannot give R. Kelly his sweat and move on. They have made a lot of money from him and have paid him back with lawsuits. I hope the indictment holds them accountable as well, considering it was filed with loopholes. They may have done everything right but hired the wrong attorneys to draft it. And this will likely land them in big trouble. They probably forgot they are the very people that branded R. Kelly, and that it's them that organized the tours during which they claim underage girls went backstage. It's also weird and questionable to note that at Sony financed and organized events, underage girls would be allowed entry. And after all the negligence, they want to put the blame of Robert. I knew Sony was a selfish company that cheats its signed artists, but certainly not one that puts the blame for its gaffes on others. According to Marvin, it serves them right, the Sony Records company. If they thought they will take R. Kelly down smoothly with no regrets, they have something to lose when this ends. Indeed, according to the indictment, Sony is largely to blame when it comes to the RICO charges. Why would R. Kelly pay for this? Yet the indictment indicates individuals on Sony's payroll as the enterprise. The company should be answerable when it comes to the RICO charges. This is Sony's case, not R. Kelly's. According to Darius Hollins, I have been saying this about Sony ever since R. Kelly's problems started back in 2017. They are right behind this and will likely go as far as taking his life if he resists. This has never had anything to do with women or underage girls. This right here confirms what I have been saying from the beginning. That is all we had for you today on HN What's Your Say? To keep updated whenever we post a new video, subscribe to this channel now. Also remember to hit the bell icon and enable notifications. And feel free to share your opinions with us in the comment section below, and let us know if you would like us to publish your views in our next release. We value all our subscribers' opinions.